Good day. I'm Mr. Bodner.
Mr. Rider.
And we're here this morning to review some of the details you want to be keeping up with respect to your capstone project. We have a slide projection for you, and we'd like you to be very attentive and follow the steps that Mr. Rider will detail in his overvoice.
Morning, everyone. This is Mr. Rider. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to walk you through a few slides. Hopefully, at this point, you're well on your way to choosing a topic and finding a mentor. May 15th is only 34 days away, which I think is going to come a lot faster than we all expect. So, what I really want to talk to you about are the first set of assignments that are due on May 15th. To Mr. Bodner or myself, you are going to submit the mentor information parental acknowledgement form, a stamped addressed envelope, to your mentor so that we can send each mentor the letter that appears on page 17 of the handbook, your letter of intent, and last, a half-inch hardcover binder. And if you look on page 8 of the handbook, you can see how that should be set up. Each of these assignments will be submitted as a hard copy and not a naviance. If you're overwhelmed or unsure of anything at this point, you really just need to focus on pages 8 to 18 of the handbook, or please come see Mr. Bodner or myself. Next, I want to show you how to get to the Capstone website. We'd like you to keep your handbook intact and use the website to print the necessary documents, which at this point is only the mentor information and parental acknowledgement form. At the end of the PowerPoint, your advisory teacher is going to pass out the instructions on how to get here so that each of you has them. So you will go to monroeps.org. Under Schools, you'll click on Massic. And under Parents, in the second column, which is called Tell Me About, you will see the link to the Capstone website, which if you click on it, this is what you'll see. Next steps. After your letter of intent is approved, you are then going to make your sign of commitment. If you look on page 18 of the handbook, there is a sample and instructions. This is due on Monday, June 11th. And for those of you who are planning to start your fieldwork experience this spring or summer, we encourage you to document your fieldwork with pictures or video, all of which will be very helpful to you during your Capstone Boards presentation next May. Okay, thank you, good luck, and again, please come see us if anyone is struggling.
Now, I'd like to try to provide you with a sample of a mock phone call. You're going to be making what is called a cold call. By this I mean you're going to be calling someone with the prospect of being your mentor, whom you may not know and whom you may not have ever met. So you want to be direct, clear, and specific as you speak with that person. Speak with a calm voice and be very declarative with your language. One example would be such as follows. Hello, Mr. Rider. My name is Carl Bodner, and I'm a rising senior at Massac High School. One of my graduation requirements is to complete a capstone project. In this project, I am picking a topic of interest that I would like to learn more about. In addition, I am required to locate a mentor with whom I can do 20 hours of field work. I then would have to turn in journal reports after the first 10 hours and the second 10 hours of my internship or mentorship. If you would like to know more about this and get more detail, you may go to the monroeps.org website, go under Massac High School, then on the parent selection, go to the middle column. You can pull up Capstone and come across a copy of our handbook. In this handbook, there are pages that explicitly describe what a mentor would be asked to do. However, I would very much like the opportunity to meet you personally and talk about this further. I hope we can come to an agreement and I could be your mentoree. In addition, you will be asked to provide a brief letter of recommendation that will recognize what I finally did accomplish during my mentorship. I thank you for the time on this phone call. I will forward you my email address and phone number, and I look forward to our meeting. Thank you. Remember, a mentor could be someone in-house at Massac or one of the other schools in the district. A mentor could be an adult in the community and outside of the community if it so happens to be best. So please work at it assertively. It's an important thing. And understand that one of the goals of the capstone is to help you develop the confidence to introduce yourself to someone and negotiate a relationship under which you would be a mentor and acquire the knowledge that is potentially gained during 20 hours of field work. This is positive for you. It's going to strengthen your communication skills. There is help whenever you need it. You're always welcome to speak to Mr. Rider or myself or Mr. Samuelson or Mr. Kobza. Do not feel you're on a limb. We are happy to do whatever we can to give you some sense of direction. If you really stumble for a mentor, we do have a database with some volunteers. Obviously, we cannot have 309 in that database, but it gives us one option under which we might be able to assist you getting closer to achieving your capstone. And remember, your letter of intent will be due in June. When you write that... May, sorry. When you write that letter of intent, please make sure you edit it and reread it carefully. Otherwise, we wish you well and have a good discussion during your advisory. Good day. I'm Carl Bodner, and I want to welcome you all to a special edition of the Massac Report. Today we have 4 panelists, 2 students, a teacher, and administrator, who are going to have a conversation, asking questions and providing information to answer them regarding Massac's move toward having a capstone program, a new graduation requirement for seniors graduating in 2013. Our panelists are, to my left, Kelsey Brown, Mr. Ken Ryder of the English Department and coordinator of the capstone program. To my right is Dan Carty, a junior at Massac High School, and assistant principal Frank Samuelson. We hope that you will find this informative and open the door for conversation amongst you as community members as well as with your children, students, to better understand the benefits that can be reaped from the capstone program. Kelsey, would you start us off with a question for Mr. Samuelson?
Yes. One of the questions I had was, will the students be graded on the capstone? Will it contribute to their GPA?
It won't contribute to their grade point average. It will be certainly, as was mentioned a moment ago, graduation requirement, and it will be done it will be graded on a pass-fail basis.
Okay. Dan?
My question kind of regards, the students, when they hear that they have another extra piece of workload that they have to put on their backs, I mean, not a lot of them look at it as, oh, yay, I mean, this is going to help me with my resume. They more look at it as like, oh, why are they making us do this? So I guess, since it's mandatory, instead of asking why we have to do it, what do the people at Massac, the administrators, want to do to make it more enticing and make it more interesting for the students?
We're hoping, Dan, that this is self-motivating, that there will be intrinsic value to doing the capstone project. And I'm confident, and I've seen firsthand, that colleges are very interested in students who have done a capstone project as part of their high school requirement. And I think that when students have some apprehension, that's normal. But I also firmly believe that once it's underway and once the anxiety about it is diminished, that students will enjoy the process, that they'll get an awful lot out of it, and in a fair amount of cases, it will be helpful to students to indicate that on their high school resume for acceptances into college. So in terms of enticement, I think that when you pick the right topic, it will be self-fulfilling.
Okay.
Mr. Ryder, anything you want to add to that?
Nope, I agree. I think, one of the great parts is the student choice, and what the student makes of it is what they're going to get out of it. So I think that's where the positives lie.
May I just quickly insert a footnote? Mr. Samuelson was principal of Oxford High School, one of our neighboring communities, and helped institute their first capstone program. So we're very fortunate that he's with us at Massac and providing so much good consultation to help us get organized and get a step up on the program. Okay, Kelsey, let's have another question.
Can you research any topic? Is that what you're saying?
Any topic is a little too broad.
Okay.
I would say almost any topic. They would need to be legal and moral. But if there were any questions about the topic that you want to pick and select, Mr. Bodner, Mr. Ryder, myself, as long as I'm here, would be happy to help guide you through that process. But pretty much any topic that is of interest to you, or something that you've either dreamed about or thought you'd like to pursue beyond high school or beyond college, we hope that would be something that you would wrap your arms around and say, gee, I want to learn more about this. Sounds like it could be a good capstone topic. And we're here to endorse that and support you with it.
Mr. Ryder, would you comment about the fact that we are developing a handbook that students can use that will facilitate this guide?
Yes, it's a pretty extensive handbook that's going to walk you through step by step. And just to pick up on what Mr. Samuelson's saying, with the topic, we want it to be a learning stretch where you, students, expand on what you already know and pick a topic that isn't something you're so familiar with. Like Mr. S said, something that you dreamed about or that you want to do. And it can be service related, it could be career related. It is very wide open. Again, that legal component's there, and then also, that your family, your parents sort of agree with you. But it is that learning stretch, so we want you to build upon your knowledge that you already have.
And I guess that's where the symbolism of the capstone comes in, where this is going to be a culmination of learning experiences for each student throughout their grades in the Monroe community. So I think that also...
Exactly, Mr. Bodner.
It allows you students to have a sense of ownership. For once you actually get to choose something you would really like to know about, and know about it with comprehensive, in-depth understanding. So I think that's important. Okay? Dan?
We've been talking about all the topics and, what our topics are okay, but my focus for this question is more about the purpose. Is it more of a community service, or is it trying to put more in-depth knowledge of something that you don't know, or something that you want to know, or something that you do know?
I would say, Dan, the latter of the two. I think it would be on a percentage basis, probably 90% of information you want to know more about or a field that you'd like to pursue, and perhaps very little, if any at all, community service related. There are some similarities in that you'll be reaching out to a mentor, and that you'll be responsible to be a mentee to that mentor and go at certain designated times and do your part to learn about the area that you want to learn more about. But in terms of community service, the only similarity that I could draw between the two is that you'll need to accumulate hours, and they'll need to be part of a log, and you'll need to have those verified by your mentor. So I think similarly to community service, the log for the capstone project you'll be able to draw comparisons with. But beyond that, I see them as different.
Okay.
Mr. Ryder, would you give us a little more clarification about who could be mentors? Are they all going to be within the Massac community, or can they be from outside?
Can really be from outside, can be from anywhere. Requirements are 21 years of age or older. We're asking that it not be a relative or a current employer, and that's it.
And my understanding is we are developing a database for people in the community to assign themselves as potential mentors for our students. The student will still have to go out and solicit the mentor, but we don't want the students to think they're out there on a limb with no advice, no assistance available.
Exactly.
So we want them to be comfortable with the fact that there's multiple adults in the school and in the community that can facilitate this. Okay, Kelsey?
So since this can go on our resumes, is this going to give us an advantage when colleges look at our resumes? Is this something they want to see?
I firmly believe that it will give Massac students and Massac graduates, class of 2013 and 14 and 15 and beyond, a leg up on the competition, on other seniors and other high schools. Colleges and universities and many of them are starting capstone projects. Some of them already have capstone projects in place. So to have a student apply to their college or university that has had capstone experience would only enhance a student's chances of it being accepted into that same university that either has the capstone project in place or is about to start one. And so it's certainly beneficial, and I know firsthand of students at my former high school who were admitted or admitted after they were admitted contingently. They were admitted completely as a result of having this capstone project as part of their high school experience.
Will some of the components, Mr. Ryder, of doing this capstone really send a message to colleges that this student has learned to do some independent research, some strong reflections, and developed communication skills?
Of course, all of those things that you're mentioning are at the forefront of it. I think most importantly at the culmination event will be that capstone board process where the student does an 8 to 12 minute presentation, and I think that is just going to be so useful, just that experience. I know when we have Alumni Day here and some of the administrators get to talk to the students who come back, one of the things they often ask for or say they wish they had a little more of at Massac is that the presentation piece. I think it's going to be a really good experience to speak in front of a panel of judges and of adults and business members. And
You know,
It's gonna
I
be
think
great.
nothing better to boost one's confidence than is to overcome that hurdle, that intimidating sense of fear of being in front of some persons you don't know or don't know you, and being able to really communicate what you know, what you understand in a comprehensive and coherent way. You know? Dan, give us another question.
Well, the kids in our grade aren't exactly all the way into this project yet. They have tidbits of information and different things they need to know. When are we going to have a formal presentation of this project, and when are we going to learn more information about it?
Mr. Ryder?
We're looking right now at some dates in March during CAPT week to have the juniors come in and for an assembly and get the information out there a little more concretely. And also reasoning is that one of the reasons for that is as we move forward in the first year, we want to give the kids as much time as possible to start. And even over the summer, if they chose to, get some of those fieldwork experience hours in.
And I know I've heard Mr. Samuelson talk about the fact that it'll also reduce some of the stress you will feel as seniors in the fall. Could you comment on that?
Yes, I hope that by virtue of us having this assembly of sorts during CAPT week or weeks, it'll be a morning for about 40 or 45 minutes. I hope that by having this assembly, that you'll be able to begin to process the topic and then begin to think critically about the type of mentor or a person who could be a mentor for the topic you're selecting. As Mr. Bodner just mentioned and Mr. Ryder, by getting a leg up almost 3 months before the last day of school, now you're well underway, and you could even begin doing some of your log hours over the summer months. They're only 20 hours, and if you did 1 or 2 a week over the summertime, or just in the month of July, a couple hours, you'd be almost halfway there through the end of the summer and leading into your senior year. And one of the things we're going to have at the assembly is I've asked a couple former students who are now college, one is a college freshman, one is a college sophomore, to come to Massac High School and to talk to the junior class. Because I think coming from someone who's a few years older than you, just 2 or 3 years older, it might resonate more, and it might be a little easier to accept listen to some of the anxieties that they had when they were about to enter their senior year and then go through the capstone project and try to allay some of your fears and some of your concerns. So I have had two folks from Oxford agree to come over. And so after Mr. Ryder, Mr. Bodner, and I have this, through our little presentation, there will be a question and answer opportunity with those students also.
And I think that's a real enriching experience to hear something, information from someone who's close to being a peer. So, Kelsey, what's the next question?
With these community service hours, what counts as community service? Interviewing your mentor or actually putting forth effort on the project? Like, what counts as community service for it?
It really isn't a community service component, Kelsey. It's more of a log of time spent with your mentor. Certainly an interview with your mentor or just observing your mentor. Anytime you're in proximity to your mentor or speaking to your mentor on the phone, we wouldn't want it to be 20 hours of talking to your mentor on the phone. That should be a very small percentage of your 20 hours. But you can begin to, as long as they're legitimate hours and your mentor agrees that it's in a mentor-mentee kind of relationship and they'll sign off on it, that's a critical part, that the mentor will sign off on the log hours. And if that person doesn't agree that such and such an hour or such and such a day could qualify or should qualify as hours, then it's their right and prerogative not to include that as part of your log.
So at the root of it all, it's sounding more and more like, to me, as though we're talking about an experience which is really at its core scholastic. And we're trying to get people to be independent thinkers, inquiry learners, someone who's out there and taking in pride in what they're able to do, what they're able to investigate. And this also will open their eyes to what their potentials are, what aptitudes they have. And it might help them reassess the direction they think they want to go. One thing that might happen is they may say, I thought I was really interested in this, and now that I've researched it, I find that I'm not. That's very positive, and it's nice to find that out early. Dan?
Well, we've been talking about mentors, but since Mr. Ryder said it can't be a relative or an employer, I was already talking to one of my employers about, maybe shadowing him, but now I guess the question is, how do we find our mentor if it can't be someone that we know already? Like, how do we go about, do we just go about the community and like talk to people, or is there like emails and things like that?
That's a very good question. Mr. Bodner has done a lot of, groundwork, going out into the community, meeting with people, letting them know. He wrote up a business letter that he was sending out to all the Monroe business leaders. He spoke at, tomorrow is the Senior Citizen Center. So people just generally raising awareness, so people will know, at least in Monroe, that you might be coming in. We want the focus to lie, or the onus to lie on the student. We are compiling a database to have for students to fall back on if they are struggling. But we do want you to go out and make those contacts and work in those interpersonal relationships and find those people on your own, if possible.
Sometimes it could be a family connection. Your mom or your dad may have someone in their place of employment that would also be interested in volunteering. Or we have faculty here at Massac who not only have signed up themselves, but their spouses have signed up. And so if they're a student interested in civil engineering or chemical engineering, here we'll have that name in the database. Doesn't mean it's the person you have to use, but at least there's some place to look for some potential resources. And Mr. Ryder and I and Mr. Samuelson, we are going to continue working to reach out to the community. We've put information in the Monroe Patch. We're going to put a second following up on that in March. So we're making our efforts to try to make this as plausible and workable as possible. A lot of respect for you students. Okay, Kelsey?
From the mentor, are we required to have a letter of recommendation from them?
Yes, I think is the short answer. It will be helpful as part of your high school resume to have a letter from your mentor indicating who they are, what you've done, how you accomplished it. But yes, you may be able to provide some guidelines to your mentor about the letter. Mr. Ryder, I don't know if you wanted to, I don't know how defined that letter needs to be. We don't want the mentor to feel intimidated about composing a letter.
Right.
And so I think it's more important, I think I speak for Mr. Bodner and Mr. Ryder when I say that I think it's more important that a mentor be a true mentor as opposed to a writer or an author or something like that. And that could be an intimidating part. We don't want to intimidate any potential mentors by having them say, oh, I'd be happy to do this, but I'm not too crazy about writing a letter. So could you comment on that also?
I think you said it pretty well. Yeah, nothing huge, but in what capacity you worked with your mentor, the job they think you did. Nothing.
I think it's a statement of validation.
Yes.
That you completed this under the mentor's guidance and fulfilled the expectations you had for yourself as well as the expectations the mentor placed before you. And it's simply a validation that, I had the opportunity and I accepted Kelsey Brown as a mentee, and this is what she accomplished. This was her interest, this is what she accomplished, and I verify that everything here is accurate. So something of that general nature. Does that make it more clear?
Yeah.
Okay, Dan?
Well, the next question is, a little bit later, like when we're starting the project and we've already had our mentor and we've already gotten over the contact and everything. We're just wondering, me and Kelsey are wondering, what exactly does the mentor do for us? Do we shadow them throughout the day and write down things that we see, or do they let us get into what they're doing and help them with what they're doing, or is it just like a visual thing, or are we going to be hands-on and stuff like that?
All of the above.
Yeah, all of the above. I think it depends on your topic, exactly what your choice is. Some students might have a topic where they actually complete something and they bring that to their presentation and they show us what they did. Mm-hmm. Others might be more observational. But the hope is over those 20 hours that you get more intensive with your mentor and more hands-on as those hours get on and you become more familiar with the topic and more comfortable with your mentor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming there'd have to be some negotiation on the part of the mentor and the mentee to accomplish that. And you'd have to, depending on the line of work, there could be variables that, such as insurance. Let's suppose I want to be a heating, ventilation, air conditioning mechanic. Well, depending on, and I get with Charles Edgerton's corporation in Monroe. His insurance would dictate, can I go out on a van with a mechanic? Can I just learn things from in-house? So there'll be different things. If I'm a local veterinarian is my mentor, then maybe I would be allowed more hands-on. So I think that it depends on the direction you're going, and we have to look at the full parameter of these things, if that makes sense. Okay, Kelsey?
To clarify this again, so the mentor can or cannot live in town?
May or may not. It depends on your topic and if you can find someone in town and the amount of convenience for you and to a certain extent your folks if they need to bring you back and forth. But they can certainly be a Monroe business or resident, or it could be someone from Trumbull, it could be someone from Oxford, it could be someone from Newtown. I think we would strongly suggest that it be, try to, if you could, have it in close proximity so that it's not problematic to get back and forth. And if you don't have your own car, it doesn't become a problem for your folks to have to bring you back and forth after their work day or during the summertime when they may be at work or after their work hours and family time after the dinner hour.
Right.
Dan?
Well, I was just wondering, I have no clue about some of the things on here, and one of them is the letter of intent that students must complete before starting the project. I just need some background information on it and what it is.
Letter of intent is, it's going to help the coordinators really get a good picture of what you plan to do. It's your topic, how you plan to fulfill your hours, how it's a learning stretch for you as a student and as a citizen of Monroe. It's really it. Topic, how you plan to meet your hours, who your mentor is, how it fits a learning stretch. And we also have some civic and community expectations that we want you to, and academic and social as well, that you're going to fit in there that are really outlined in the handbook, how you can fill that out. There's a model letter there's paragraph 1, here's what we want. Paragraph 2, here's what we want. So it is very well detailed for you as you
There's a
write it.
template there.
Yes.
Great.
Kelsey?
What happens if a student does not complete this project?
Well, it is a graduation requirement. So if a student does not complete it, their diploma will not be conferred until it is completed. So that what that means, and there may be a very small percentage of students who had some challenges and some difficulty at the time of the capstone boards, and they will receive something. They won't receive a failing grade per se. They'll receive something called a not yet, those
Okay.
2 words. And all that states is that you need to do something a little bit more and beyond, and you won't have to guess what that is. That will be very explicit, and then you'll have an opportunity to present again, not to the same people that you originally did it with, but with a subgroup, another capstone board group of individuals, and then you'll have an opportunity to present it a second time. And highly unlikely, but if there's still some challenges left, you'll have an opportunity to present it a third time. But the not yet is just that. It means not yet. There are no red Fs on the paper, and
Okay.
you'll be at Massac High School for the rest of your life kind of thing. It's truly a. And I think that students need to recognize that there are some challenges involved, but this is set up for success. Not every which is going to get a pass immediately, but any challenges that are presented, Mr. Bodner will assist with, Mr. Rider will assist with, some of your other teachers will, the administrators will, to the extent that they can and that their time allows. But please try not to be focused on the downside, because that will be, if at all, a very small percentage of youngsters,
Right.
and they'll have ample opportunity to correct anything that is a shortcoming.
Dan?
Well, this is more like a specific question, like a more in-depth one. How exactly are we going to be documenting our fieldwork? Are we going to be like, I was here for an hour, or is it going to be, I was doing this here, like a journal entry, or is it going to be both?
It's going to be both. There's 3 separate journal entries that you're going to be completing. One's called Getting Started, how you came up with your topic. The second one will be hours 1 through 10 of your field experience, and then it'll be hours 11 through 20. And then, as Mr. Samuelson mentioned earlier, there's going to be that fieldwork experience log where you document what you did that day, your hours, and at the end of your experience, your mentor will sign off on that.
Okay.
So a little of both.
Okay.
Kelsey?
So at the end, when the students are done with their project, how are they going to go about presenting this project? To who? How are they going to set it up?
Well, there are specific requirements in terms of attire and presentation format, in use of technology and eye contact and question and answers. But succinctly, there will be in a classroom a panel of 5 or 6 adults. Some of them will be current teachers, some of them may be former teachers at one of the elementary or middle schools, or middle school. It could be people in the community, could be senior citizens, some of whom may have some background knowledge in the area that you're presenting. But remember, you'll be presenting with 5 or 6 classmates, one at a time, and it's highly unlikely that there will be judges that will have background information in each one of your 5 or 6 areas. So these will be sensitive, thoughtful, caring adults who are there to provide you with some feedback and to just give you practice in presenting in front of people that are you may not be completely comfortable with, in the context that they're not family members, they're not dear friends, they're not relatives, they're strangers, so to speak, the people that you may just not know. But they're in the room because they want to see how a Massac High School senior has prepared himself or herself for college or the world of work, and how ready they are for that next step in their lives. And so they're not there to be overly critical. They're there to give you feedback and people who are genuinely interested in this project.
Mr. Ryder, just to help out a little bit more here, my understanding correct that in our handbook, we will have rubrics that the students will see, so they'll know the specific expectations at each step along the way in developing their field work, their research, and organizing their presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, as well. There's a rubric for the journal, the reflection paper, which comes in the middle, and then there's a separate rubric for the board presentation.
And we want to clarify that a student can't just come in and do a 10-minute PowerPoint. You know, we want to have that face-to-face communication skill. So there'll be time restrictions on how much technology you can use. Okay, Dan, one.
Well, Mr. Samuelson mentioned attire, and I was just wondering, do I have to show up like you guys with the nice shirts and the ties, or can I show up with a t-shirt like I have now, like be comfortable?
We
or?
have ties we'll let you borrow.
So I guess my question just is, what is the level of attire that we need? Do we need a shirt and a tie? Can we have just a regular button-down shirt, or is it just, you know?
Well, it's spelled out in the handbook, and it's part of the rubric also. But as long as you ask the question, we don't expect nor want anyone to go out and buy an outfit.
Yeah.
We're hoping that attire that you would wear perhaps to church or to a formal family function at a restaurant or something like that would be appropriate. But for gentlemen, a shirt and tie, a jacket if you have it. But if not, a shirt and tie would be fine. Dress shoes would be fine. For a young lady, a pantsuit or other type of similar clothing. But I would suggest to anyone listening and to your classmates that the intention is for you to impress the people that you're presenting, and sometimes clothing will help do that. You certainly need to know your topic and you need to speak clearly, but sometimes clothing enhances that, and so we just want you to look sharp for this event.
You treat it like, I would assume, the suggestion or inference here is more like a professional experience. And if you know you look well, you've presented yourself well, that first impression is very strong. Plus, I think in a very indirect way, it strengthens your own confidence. And I think that's important. Because one of the things I know I'll say to anyone I work with as a student is not only take ownership of this, but have integrity, have pride in what you've done. Okay, and let that be demonstrated in your demeanor, your attire and your demeanor, because you want to have the attention of your audience, and that's really important, I would suggest. Let's just do one last question, Kelsey.
So to wrap it all up, what do you think Capstone will do for the students?
I think it will confirm or deny a topic, an area of interest that the student may have, something that they're very passionate about at this moment in time, and now by pursuing this, it just increases their passion for it, or by pursuing it, it says, gee, that's, as Mr. Bodner mentioned a little while ago, that's not something that I'm interested in doing at all. I'm glad I pursued it now. I'm glad I didn't take courses in it in college. I'm glad I didn't go to a technical school to try and do it because, boy, I have no interest in doing that. It was not at all what I envisioned it would be. So we're hoping that that's one of the components. Another component that we're hoping is that it builds self-confidence, that it allows you to feel very comfortable that all the things you have been taught from kindergarten through 12th grade all come together now and are presented to in a manner that is understandable to a group of concerned individuals, all adults, and that it provides you with a catalyst for success as you go on to the next stage of your life. For most of you, it will be college. For some of you, it will be the world of work. But it's something that provides you with that opportunity to exhale and say, I'm ready, world.
Mr. Ryder, anything you care to add to that?
No, well said.
Well, the only thing I would add is for anyone that has this thought in the back of their mind, the goal here is to facilitate and assist and guide all our students. And we understand that there may be certain cases where individual students will need realistic adjustments in preparing their capstone project. But that's one of the goals, is that we want to reach out and make those adjustments so those children, those young students, can really handle this as independently as possible. And as Mr. Samuelson said, this is geared for success and we think it'll help them tremendously with their own confidence and when they do achieve that success. So at this time, I want to thank our students, Kelsey Brown and Dan Carty. I want to thank Mr. Ryder and Mr. Samuelson for joining us. I hope this enlightens our audience a bit, and please feel free, if you have questions, to communicate with us at the high school, and we'll do our best to make the understanding of the Capstone Project for Massac High School to be clear, meaningful, and successful. Otherwise, we wish you a good day.